Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the power of the pig. The piggy power. We've previously done on this channel the 10 reasons why you should and shouldn't buy a 306. We're of course talking about the Peugeot mark. And now we're talking about the 206. It's sort of little sister, if you like, in the Peugeot world. Please click on the buttons, things down there, cross, up, down. Just look on my channel. There's ones about the 306 and there's 10 reasons you should buy a 206. But we've always got to cover both coins, or coins with different sides. So we're on a 206. The 10 reasons perhaps you just want to think twice or thrice about buying it. Let's go straight in with number 1. Something this one suffers with. The paintwork. It's not good. Peeling badly. Dull, yes. Shiny, only when wet. Now this is partly perhaps due to owners. Mrs. Piggy owns the vehicle I'm driving right now, her 206. I think she's owned it for 4 years. I think she's cleaned it no times. Never. So that means it's never had a wax or a polish or anything like that. I basically just jet wash it off every now and again when we can't tell what colour it is. So I think generally owners do allow the paintwork to go, but the paint does suffer, particularly the reds and the blues and the whites and some of the other colours like the blacks and the blues and all the other ones in between. So look out for that. The second reason why you'd think twice about buying a 206 is an obvious one that perhaps you've already started to contemplate, but it is also subjective. It looks freaking weird. It's a weird looking car. There's not really many angles it looks good from. And the little advert they did where the guy like beat it this car into a pulp to make it look like a 206 and he got an elephant to sit on it, kind of looks better than this one, to be honest. It looks like they designed a car and in the manufacturing process they made it out of Play-Doh and then they heated it up a bit much and it just kind of went oh yeah, that's fine, we'll make that. So it looks a bit weird, it looks a bit frumpy. And the station wagon, the SW, my goodness, that could be the ugliest estate Peugeot have ever made. And there were some bad ones. Okay, number 3. Just like the other ones mentioned, one of the reasons in the 306-1, air conditioning. No, it's there. There's a button that doesn't do anything. Again, this is down to owners, age of car, but I have yet to find a 206 with decent or working air conditioning. Really bad. So it's your fault if you own one and you've never regassed it or looked after it or serviced it or resealed it, blah de blah de blah. Your fault. Reason 4, comfort. I really don't find them very comfortable. They're a lot of fun, quite supportive seats in the GTIs, but the low spec ones are way too soft, and then the sport spec ones are like sitting on a park bench. So do any more than 100 miles and you can't feel from your waist down, quite frankly, and the angles is weird. It's just not the most comfortable thing to be sitting in for a long period of time. But I suppose it wasn't a Grand Tourer, even though they made it GTI. It wasn't really a Grand Tourer, but I don't find them very comfortable. Could be subjective, but that's my reason for thinking twice or thrice or thrice about buying a 206. Point 5, driving position. That again is subjective, but it's weird. It's like the 306 where all the pedals are offset to the right, so actually the steering wheel is in between, well, it's almost where the clutch is, and there is kind of a footrest for your left foot. There isn't one for your right foot, obviously, but it's not really very big, and if you're wearing anything bigger than a size 9, it's not very useful, to be honest. And you every time you go to change gear, you kind of smash your forehead on the steering wheel if you've got big shoes. It takes some getting used to. Steering position's odd. Gear sticks in a kind of a weird place. Yeah, a bit weird. Oh, good, I can't see now. Perfect. The 6th reason why you might think twice why maybe you shouldn't buy a 206, and you might disagree. If you agree, I don't care. I'm making the video. Is understeer oversteer. So low spec models, horrific, horrendous, terrible understeer. Like overly cautious understeer. Go into a corner slightly quick and it just washes out. The sport models with the low profile tyres and the sporty rear axle and the sway bars and the firm suspension, they lift off oversteer like you wouldn't believe. If ever you're not sure that that actually happens, get on some loose surface, turn and lift off, and literally it comes around like a rear-wheel drive car. It's quite a change. So I don't like the balance. The chassis is obviously very nimble, but I think it's a negative. Way too much understeer and base models, too much oversteer in my opinion in the high performance models. Point 7 is for the lads, because I don't think the 206 is a car for you if you're a lad. It's a pretty girly car, come on. Come on, be honest. It's a girly car. We all know it. You could say, well, it looks pretty, but we've already mentioned that. It doesn't really look at anything. It's just a car with frumpy looks. It's a bit of a girly car. That again could be subjective, but that's my reason for, you know, you're not going to look butch turn up at the gym in a 206, is all I'm saying. Number 8. 8 reasons why you shouldn't buy a 206. Who would have thought? Well, there is 8 reasons, and the 8th one is condition. They're getting rough, they're getting tatty. So when you do find one that's cheap, it's not well looked after. Again, this is the owner's fault, isn't it? But it's the age of them as well. They get bashed around. You put them in a car park, no one cares about them around you, so they bash into it. Maybe tractors drive into the side of them. Maybe not. Yeah, they're conditioned. They're getting tatty now. Not particularly getting worn out. They're just not looked after. They're getting tatty. Which brings us on to point 9. By this age, the rear axles are getting worn out. You see the camber, you hear the knocking, and it costs about £250 to £300 for the part, the whole rear axle to be rebuilt, and it's going to take you 3 or 4 hours to do it, or pay a garage maybe £150 to £200 to swap it out. There is a plus side, and this is on the plus side. So if you go and see my video about 206s and 10 reasons to buy a 206, the rear axle's brilliant, great for handling. And it has lasted this long. You know, they're 20 years old now, plus. But now they need replacing because they're all worn out. From age, you know, there's bearings and grease, and there's age, or just from use, for mileage. The final reason to think about it, for me, it's a big negative for the 206, is they're sparse on spec. So the 306, which came out before this, and was almost finished production when the 206 came out, had many more nice things about it. Interiors were better, spec was better, you know, they all came, the late ones all came with fog lights, they all came with rain sensing wipers, you know, auto wipers. The stereos were far better than in the 206. The speakers, the soundproofing was far better in the 306. And I don't know if you can hear, but wow, they are rattly. There's not very much sound deadening. They kind of, it's thin. It feels like they forgot to add all the comfort bits to make your ears, you know, survive a journey, to make your spine enjoy the journey. A bit sparse, which, you know, the classic cup holders, I think they thought, wow, we've got this one, we've put cup holders in. They sort of put one, a pocket thing where you can kind of jam a cup, and there's sort of one in the glove box. But if you're moving any more than a leisurely pace, i.e. walking, they're going to fall over. And that makes them a bit pointless, doesn't it? Because then your passenger's going to smash their knees on it at any time. So you might as well just get your passenger to hold them. So no cup holders, no electric windows on the rear on any model that I know of, no fancy wipers auto, no auto lights. It's a bit sparse. Now I know it's a bit of a, you know, it's a small economical car, but they did bring a GTI and sport models and high-end models that had a half leather interior in the sport models. Why didn't they just offer that to other people so they could tick a box, make it nice? Why don't they just offer it at all? So that's the 10th reason for me, is the sparseness, the spec, low spec, even in the high spec, if that makes any sense. So I've waffled along plenty too much for today, and you've probably heard enough of me, seen enough of this orange jumper anyway. So those are my 10 reasons not to buy a 206. There's 10 good reasons to do so though, and go check that video out right now. Well worth a watch. Thinking about 306? Go watch the videos about that too. If you've got a 205 or 106 or a 304 or something fancy that's a Peugeot and you think I should do a video on it, please hit me up. Facebook, Instagram, other ways of communication. Let me know. I'll do a video on it. You bring me the car, I'll do a video, and I'll give you a sticker. All worth it. Thanks for watching. subscribe.